Hello everyone, I'm Matthew Hines for Encounters USA. We are your one-stop podcast and YouTube channel for all things alien, Bigfoot, and Dogman. So relax, kick up your feet, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the show. Hello everyone, welcome to a special Encounters USA. In a few minutes, we're going to be going up to chilly Mount Baker to check out and test some of our new equipment. But right now, before we do that, we're in the studio to say goodbye to an old friend. And that old friend is right here. It is our Audio Technica microphone, which I've been using for some time. But over the course of the years, I keep noticing that maybe my sound could be just a little bit better. So at Encounters USA, we've upgraded our microphone, and from now on, we're going to go from sounding like this to sounding like this. So, what do you think? What do you think about the comparison? Well, leave a comment in the comment section. And maybe you like the Audio Technica better. But for me, I sure like the sound of this Shure MV7. And I'm going to make a brief statement about the fact that what you're going to see is not a commercial for products, but really ideas to help you in your search for the paranormal or to better your game on your podcast, photography, video making, or whatever it is you do. I hope I can help you out. So now let's go to the second part of this, where we're going to be talking about our plan for the day. We're going to be moving on up to where it's a little bit colder, which is why I'm wearing my Encounters USA zip up hoodie, because we're going up north and we're going to the Cascade Mountains, where we are going to be testing some of our new equipment. One of the things we're going to be testing is this FLIR. It is a FLIR. It's a heat-seeking device. We're going to be testing out our new Osmo gimbal from DJI, and we are also going to be testing out the new iPhone 12 Pro Max, which we really just want to test out on the we're just trying to really test out I'm just going to put it here so I don't know what's on my, there's my wife. So anyway, well, you can see my wife. She's so glamorous. Anyway, we're going to be testing out the iPhone 12 Pro Max. At least we're going to be testing out the camera part of it, which I'm sure if you've watched anything, you've seen it before. So we're going to be checking out all of those things in conjunction with how they connect to the DJI gimbal and with the FLIR. And we're also, as a special treat, going to be going up and actually conducting operations to go up and play Bigfoot sounds. So we're going to go up there and test out a new app. It's called, I'm not going to even look at it. It's the Bigfoot app, and it's available on the App Store. What more do I have to say? So, well, I have to say one more thing is that we're going to be talking about these different products today. And yeah, they're great gadgets. And as you're going to see, they really do some pretty amazing stuff. So I would just want to point out, I don't get any compensation for even talking about them. I wish I did, but I don't. And I'm just doing this because I want you to see what they do, to see what there is on the market for improving your game. And I want to show my Encounters USA listeners and viewers and people who read the blog that, yeah, we've got new stuff. We are going next level, and you're really going to like the stuff you're going to see. And as an example, let's get this hoodie zipped up and head up to Mount Baker. Let's just start out by saying nothing went as planned. To start off with, it is still late winter in the Cascades. And so that means that it is very difficult to get access to a lot of areas. And one of those areas happens to be Baker Lake. Now, I have not been up here during the winter before, so I was not aware of the situation. So I ended up going all the way to the east end and then finally had to settle on driving all the way back to Colchan and getting in at the dam, which is the exact opposite of what I wanted to do. But it was the only option left open to me. So my plan was to get in here, and as you can see, it's really a lovely little spot to get in, at least in the summertime. But I was to find out things were a little bit different when I arrived. Right now, I'm standing outside of Baker Lake, which is right behind me. I came up here, it is the 1st of April, and no April Fool's joke here, the dam is actually open and all the water, or about half of the water out of the lake is gone. So I didn't know any of this when I came up here, but I came up here for one reason. As I've said on one or two of my previous podcasts, Encounters USA is now operational. And so I came up here to check out one little gadget I've got, and that is this gimbal. I'm going to attach this gimbal to this iPhone, and this is a new gadget in our repertoire as well. This is an iPhone 12 Pro Max. Takes amazing pictures. So we're going to go from the old Sony Handycam, and we're going to be switching over to this one soon enough. We also have a new FLIR. So we're going to be putting this FLIR on the phone, and we are going to go around the lake, at least for as long as we can. And what are we going to do? We are going to play this. That's right. So I hope you heard that. If not, let me try it one more time. And we're going to play that around the lake and see if we can't get Mr. Bigfoot to come and say hello. So right now I'm going to get everything set up. We're going to put the camera on the gimbal, and we're going to go into a time-lapse mode so you don't have to wait as long as I do to fill this thing up. Now you're probably wondering how I'm going to get down to that lake and back. Fact is, I'm going to have to carry everything down, and I'm going to have to carry it back. As you're going to see, the boat I'm using, everything I'm going to explain in a little bit. But it's a little bit of work, but definitely worth it once we get out on the lake. So that's the plan. Let's set it up. So we're here at Mount Baker for one reason and one reason only, and that is to make sure that our equipment is in good working order for the paranormal hunting season of 2021. So as you can see, Encounters USA likes to be mobile, and we like to be able to have access to the extensive waterways in the Pacific Northwest. So with this setup, we can use the car or the pickup, and we can go to a lot of places that even an outboard motor-powered vessel cannot access, because you can't go with gasoline motors in a lot of these places. So what we found out here, as you can look at Baker Lake behind me, is that it's pretty much emptied out. So what does that mean? It means somebody has to hoof all this stuff down all the way to the waterway, or to the water line, and then come back and set things up. So what you're looking at now is everything is being filmed on the gimbal, on the DJI gimbal. And what I'm trying to do is there is a motion detector where it will follow you wherever you go. And right now I haven't got that working quite right yet. So I am just kind of doing things one at a time. The most important thing for me right now is I'm concerned about the motor in my boat. And the reason for that we're going to see in a second as we venture out. Well, it looks like first thing we're going to have to put the seat in because I'm going to need something to sit on. Now, as you can see, these seats are inflatable and they are quite comfortable. Obviously, I've forgotten something, and as we're going to find out, there are a number of items required that I actually left back up in the car. So I'm going to be making a few trips back up the hill. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and install this motor, and I'm going to do it out of the picture. So I think at this point in time, we are going to skip ahead a little bit in this here movie. As we look at the Sea Eagle Paddleski sitting there with the motor on the back, we are trying to get a function on the DJI gimbal, where you can wave at it and have it actually follow you. Haven't perfected that yet, but I'm still working on it. So, nope, not there. How about, nope, not there. Try one more. Nope, not there. Well, there's going to have to be some adjustments made. And oh, there it is. It's working. It's working. And just so you know, I had to set up the Bluetooth, actually. So now it can watch me, and you can watch me set up the rest of the boat. All right, this is fantastic, isn't it? So what we're looking at right now is I am getting ready to install the tiller on the boat. And the tiller connects to the battery, which connects to the drive shaft, and that connects to the propeller. But as I'm doing this, I want you to pay attention to one, I don't want to say a defect, but one thing about the gimbal that you need to be careful about when you're using it in the DJI app. Now watch me. I'm going to go up and retrieve some stuff for the boat. And as I do, I show my face, but look, where's my face now? It's gone, right? So it lost me. It didn't know what to track. So right there, that's one thing that you have to remember about this gimbal, is that if you don't keep looking at the camera directly, it will lose track of you and you will lose your shot. So now we're just sitting here waiting for me to come back in the shot. But I don't think I want to wait too long, so let's just skip ahead. All right, with Mount Baker in the background, we are going to just fast motion through some of this stuff and get to the next part of our equipment test. We needed to find out if the boat, the propeller, and all of the basically moving parts and the things that are going to propel us around, at least on the waterways, are working properly. Now, I've had some concerns about this, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm just putting the electronic key on. It's pretty much just a magnet, and that goes on the tiller, and that allows you, when you turn the tiller clockwise or counterclockwise, it allows the boat or the propeller to spin, which propels you through the water. So with a farewell to the camera and praying that my gimbal is going to follow me along, I now, as you can see, am turning the propeller, turning the tiller, and that is turning the propeller. Now, unfortunately, I am hung up on the ground, so I don't have enough of the tiller or the propeller in the water to pull me out until right now. So right now, I am just trying out the propeller, the tiller, and making sure everything's okay. Now, I mentioned that this propeller has a tendency, if you hit rocks or whatever, to come loose. And so I did tighten it up before I got in the boat. But I mean, just you can't see it, of course, but I've already hit a couple rocks. So I'm going to go out to those trees are about, if the lake was actually full, those trees would be about 30 feet below the water line. And now there's a big long obstacle in the front. So I'm thinking to avoid that, but at the same time, I'm also having some trouble with this propeller because I can tell that normally the boat has a lot of acceleration when you turn the tiller, but right now it's got really nothing. And that tells me that the propeller is loose. And that means I've got to come back in and make some adjustments. Now, I don't need to tell you how frustrating it can be to be this far out and to travel this far and to wonder if my equipment, I mean, my basic mode of transport is going to be working correctly, because this is this Torpedo motor, I'll just tell you right now, comes from Germany, and they run about $2,000, and getting them fixed is not easy to do. So I really don't want to have any problems with it. And so far it's been very good, but right now I'm a little bit concerned. So now we're ready for the next trial run, and I've gone and tightened up that propeller. There's a nut on there, and I've tightened that. And so now we're going to go and see if we've made any headway in giving us a little bit more propulsion. And right now it seems that we're not propulsing in the right direction. There we go. Now we are on our way out, and it looks like we have got a little bit more power coming out of that propeller. So for right now, it looks like the repair was successful, and it looks like I'm giving the high sign, so it looks like everything is good. All right, well, with the propeller seemed to be working fine, the motor's working fine, boat's working fine, everything's on board, so it's time to head out for some adventure and to test out more of our equipment. Now, with the help of Google Earth, I'm going to give you a better idea of the route we're going to take, and I'm going to explain why we're taking this particular route. Now, remember, our whole purpose in this undertaking is to test out new equipment and to make sure our old equipment is working correctly. So I wanted to make a crossing across this area here and end up in one of these little inlets that dot the outside of the lake, all around the lake. Now, there's a reason for this. And as we're making the crossing, you can see that it is a little bit farther than it looks on Google Earth. So we're going to make our way across, and we're checking out the motor, we're checking out our equipment, and we want to make sure that everything is in running order. So once we made a successful crossing, we were ready to start testing our equipment. The equipment we wanted to test, as we mentioned, was our FLIR. And we also wanted to check out how the Bigfoot calls were going to sound on our speaker. But right now, let's take a real quick look at what got us here, and that is our Sea Eagle Paddleski. It's a real star, and I love it. And that is a Torpedo electric motor. Now, one thing that I told you I wanted to do, I wanted to check out the quality of the videos from the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now, because this is a podcast, it's going to be very difficult for the podcast listeners to take advantage of these amazing videos and photos that you're about to see. Now, some of these are taken with the iPhone straight out, but some of them are taken with the DJI Osmo 3, and I am just amazed at the quality of these videos. Now, they're not shot in 4K. They're just shot in whatever, 1080, and they are amazingly beautiful. So we're watching some of these videos, and we're going to be looking around the site actually where we're going to be testing our equipment. So as we're looking at the motion of the water, and what I'm doing here is I'm shooting with the gimbal, but I'm shooting it in a slow motion mode. And as you can see, the camera just really picks up all details. This is not 4K, but as you can see, this is really just beautiful contrast, colors, everything. No, I haven't done any editing to this. And as you can see, there are just amazing colors and contrasts and all these different things that the camera seems to pick up. So I really am impressed with the quality of this camera, and yeah, it's great, and I'm glad I have one, because if I didn't, I think I would certainly want one. So again, these are different modes that are taken with the gimbal, and the first one, the wide angle one, was actually taken as a panorama, and I believe this is also taken as a panorama. Now, what you're looking at right there is what used to be, I mean, I would be under like 25 feet of water right now, but you're looking at the shoreline way up top there, and we're on down the hill at what is now the current shoreline. So this is where I wanted to do my testing of my equipment, and I also wanted to do my Bigfoot calling here. Now, there were a few reasons that I chose here, as I said, because most of the beaches now are not accessible, and this was the one of the few areas that did have an accessible beach. So we're just looking around here and testing out some different modes on the camera, on the gimbal, and just really enjoying the beautiful scenery on April 1st, 2021 at Mount Baker. Now again, these photos are just amazing, and what I'm doing here, I'm doing a slow pan and just panning to the right and using the gimbal to do it. And is that just not incredibly smooth motion? Now, it sped up a little bit because that was the operator's fault. But look at the contrast with the tree standing out of the water, the clouds on the left above the mountains, and then the sunshiny beach here with, it looks like a moonscape, and the dead trees, and then all of the life above. So trying a couple of different modes on this gimbal. I'm just doing a couple of zoom ins and zoom outs, and really unbelievable photography. So if you are listening on the podcast, you really have to check this out. So it's just doing a little bit more photography, and in a few minutes we're going to look at a couple more of these pictures, and then we're going to go ahead and start testing our Bigfoot calls. And as you can see, the tests of the iPhone 12 Pro Max, at least as far as I'm concerned, have been successful. These are fantastic shots and are going to be really useful in trying to capture evidence of the paranormal. So this is a panorama shot, and this one is an interesting shot done on the gimbal. It's like an Alfred Hitchcock kind of deal where the camera zooms in and zooms out. Unfortunately, when your feet are stuck in the mud, it doesn't work so well. So with all of my tests complete for the camera and the gimbal, it was time to move on to the next aspect, and that was to test the FLIR as well as to test the Bigfoot Sounds app. All right, so I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration here about the FLIR. It's a FLIR 1, it's the Pro model, and obviously it's a very compact unit. It's got two cameras on it, a normal camera and infrared, which we're going to see in a second. And so you just install it on the iPhone, and you get ready to take your pictures. So you have to download the FLIR app, and once that's installed, and I suggest you do it where you do have internet before you go out. So once that's all installed, then you're looking through your iPhone camera through the FLIR app. So this is my first time actually opening the app and looking at it. So I'm just getting used to the modes and whatever. It has a bunch of different modes where you can look at different colors, but I'm just trying to find the mode where you can just the normal heat sensing mode, and also I want to find the normal shooting mode. All right, now that I've been relatively successful at distinguishing the two modes, now I'm ready to start looking for Bigfoot. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be call blasting. I'm going to be call blasting the Bigfoot app, and while I'm doing it, I am going to be shooting infrared images from the woods behind me. So I'm going to actually have to do two things at once. I'm going to go and do the call blasting, and then I'm going to have to move on up the hill and get some infrared images. And this will also allow a little bit more comparison photography. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go out and we are going to do some call blasting, and we're going to do it on that rather large Pathfinder speaker you see sitting over there by the Paddleski. So we're using the Bigfoot app on. Now that I've made a couple of test calls, it is ready to crank up the speaker and the volume a couple of notches, right up to 11. Now the iPhone app comes with a few different modes, so let's try another one. Now let's try female mode. All right, next on the list of hits is Bigfoot Baby. All right, before heading up the hill, let's go ahead and go back to Bigfoot Howl. All right, so that was the Bigfoot Sounds app, available on the iTunes Store. What do you think about that? Leave your opinion in the comments. And now it's time to head up the hill and see if we've called anybody in. Now let's just take a quick shot at this hill and look at the terrain here. What we're actually looking at is a slow motion video of, what would generally be the bottom of the lake, but right now we are standing on dry ground and we're going to move up, but we're just going to look into the woods there and see if by any chance we happen to call anything out, because we don't want to go up there. As you can see, it's very deep woods right at the tree line. So if you go up there and there's something that's called in, well, you're not going to have much chance to escape. So I'm just going to kind of hang around here for maybe a minute or two and get a good look at what's going on, and then we're going to head up that hill. All right, now we're at the top of the hill and we're looking back down. We're looking down at the lake, and in the outline there, you can see my boat. This is because one of the features of the FLIR is it uses a standard camera that catches that outline, and then it uses the heat sensor to detect, the surrounding countryside. So looking at the lake, what do we see? We see a temperature of 1.2 and 1 degree Celsius, which would be about 35 to 36 degrees Fahrenheit. So as you can see, this is probably fairly accurate. And we also have a fairly accurate picture of the surrounding terrain as well as of Mount Baker, with a general reading of how cold or hot the area is. Hey everybody, let's take a quick break from the action to talk about some different kind of action, and that is the Encounters USA summer lineup for 2021. That's right, tank tops, hoodies, sweatshirts, zip-up shirts, women's, children's, men's, all of your paranormal and summer needs are right here at encountersusa.com. Also, these designs and merchandise are available at Amazon, Redbubble, Teespring. So let's get back to the action. All right, now, as I said before, the FLIR has two modes. It has two cameras. Now, I'm in the normal camera mode, and I'm looking back over the lake. And of course, I'm up on the top of the hill looking down on my stuff and looking across the lake at Mount Baker. Now, once again, looking at the temperature reading, 2.1 degrees Celsius. So considering the flow of water, the fact that this is ice runoff from snow, so you're probably going to get these kinds of temperatures. So once again, I really think that the temperature reading is fairly accurate. So just a couple things about this mode when you're shooting in the normal mode on the FLIR. So now let's look over at the infrared for 1 second again. All right, back in the infrared mode, this is the same exact shot, just done from the heat-seeking mode, and this can all be done right on the screen of your phone. And as you can see, again, we have the same temperature reading, about 1 degree Celsius, which I think is fairly accurate. So this is, again, just a comparison between the light or the standard camera mode and the FLIR mode. So one more time, back to the normal mode and back to the FLIR mode. So pretty nifty. And so this is going to be great for looking for anything hiding in the woods, especially at night. It's not going to be able to hide for long. So let's go ahead and turn the FLIR onto the forest. All right, so here's a shot in normal camera mode, and a couple things that I want you to pay attention to. I mean, this is not the highest definition camera on this thing, and it doesn't need to be because of the infrared capabilities. Again, we're getting a temperature reading of about 6.5 degrees Celsius there, which in the shade out of the sun, that would probably be about 50, 45, 50 degrees. Sorry, I don't do the metric system that much. But the other thing I want you to see is right there in the left-hand corner is the FLIR logo. Now that does not go away, and it shows up in every mode, and the only way that you can get rid of it, so to speak, is to crop it out. So I just want to bring your attention to that. Now back in the heat sensing mode, we can see the temperature reading, and we can also see the differences in temperature variations around the area. Again, the darker areas are going to be colder and the lighter areas are going to be warmer. So if you're going to be looking for something at night, it's going to show up as a contrast to that very dark purple bluish, and it's going to be very light, like that yellow color. And let me just add that one of the features of this app is that you can change these contrasting colors to a lot of different palettes. And I'm just trying to make sure that this thing works or not. So later on, I'll show that in different demonstrations of how this works when we're doing investigations. The last mode I wanted to check out was the movie mode. And so here's that. Now, I don't have the normal mode footage, but just looking around the forest, I think you get an idea of how things are going to go, especially during the night investigations. Now, with all of the tests conducted and successfully so far, it was time to move out. My plan was to move up the lake a little bit and test out the boat again, make sure everything was right, but I also wanted to see what kind of shape some of my potential landing and investigation areas, what kind of shape they were actually in. So with the help of Google Earth, we're going to take a quick, speedy journey over to our next stopping point. And as you can see, the weather in this simulation is a lot better than the weather you're going to see when we do the actual journey in just a moment. So we are moving across a virtual lake, and we are moving to our potential next stopping point, and that is in another cove that is a much bigger cove and looks a lot different than how we're going to find it. So we're trying to get over to that cove in the boat and make sure all of our systems are working, and we want to see if this is going to allow us access up to a very good potential research area for a Sasquatch or a Sasquatch clan. So now let's go away from the virtual tour and get back to reality. Well, as I got ready to shove off, I was very satisfied at the way things had gone. I really had not counted on having so much success with all of these different, very complicated systems, but things seem to be working out fairly well. The weather, in spite of how it kind of looks, is actually not bad, and I'm getting little breaks of sunlight just about the time I want to take a picture. So right now I'm taking the Paddleski. I'm trying to get into reverse in very shallow water. This thing can run in depths of about a foot without hitting the propeller. So right now I'm just getting the propeller and the motor ready to go, and then we're going to shove off. So we're going to say goodbye to our little testing ground here, and really we can see that from the pictures, the difference in the lighting and everything, that the weather has kind of turned a little bit gloomier, and it's getting late into the afternoon as we say goodbye. So we're going to power up the motor and put it into drive, make sure everything's running right. So I want to explain a little bit about how this paddle ski works, and I'll do that while we're actually underway, but let's just make sure that we're on the right course. Now what I have behind me is I have a tiller right at basically my back. So if I want to work the tiller in the normal fashion, then I really have to sit at an angle, which either makes my circulation get cut off on my knees, or I have to stick my feet in the water, which will probably make us go around in circles eventually. So the best thing to do, I have found out, is just take my oars, which are used for a backup power system, and use them to steer. Just put the motor on a straight course and let it do its thing, and just make little adjustments with the oar as we're moving along. So what I'm trying to do now, I want to get out away from the snags and things that might present a problem. And then, as we saw in the simulation, we're going to take a hard right, and we are going to head to the next port of call, which is going to be another little inlet just down the lake. So now I'm making the turn. I'm using the paddle to do it, so I don't have to really turn around. Now, if there's a lot of wind or something, I can adjust that tiller so that it's at a little angle to compensate for the wind. So a little bit more about this Paddleski as we're going along. And again, not getting any compensation from the Sea Eagle or Torpedo electric motor company, but this Paddleski is a fantastic craft, but only if you have a motor on it, because you're sitting on two very large pontoons full of air. And so I'm sitting probably about 6 to 8 inches above the water, and so it keeps you very dry, and it's very nice. And in waves, you just ride on top of the waves, so it's a really handy little situation. Fairly stable. If you have a lot of weight in it, whatever, and people are moving around, then it's not going to be as stable, but it's actually a fantastic boat. And we've had this thing since, I believe, 2009, when my wife said no more of these little, rubber boats you get out of the department store or the, grocery stores. So it actually was an incident on the Snake River, which is referred to as the Snake River incident. That is in our family lore, and which led to the purchase of the Paddleski. But I love this boat. I don't know what I will ever do if something happens to this where I can't use it anymore, because I'm not sure that the Sea Eagle company still makes it. And the electric motor, whatever the setup, I know they don't sell these. So if you're going to try to buy this, you can't. I don't think it's possible. But what I will do, I'll leave you some comparable links in the, on Amazon, whatever. And I think Torpedo is probably sold on Amazon. So I'll let you, you can see the spelling and these things. But anyway, this is what it is. It's a very quiet little motor, and you just sit back. Right now you can't hear it because of copyright issues, but I'm playing the Moody Blues, and I'm cruising across Mount Baker, or Lake Baker, not Mount Baker. I'm cruising across Baker Lake, and I'm having a great time. And the other thing that makes this so great is that, look at the solitude. I mean, there is not one soul within probably 25 miles. And so I'm out here by myself. It's fantastic. I have time to think, to look around, and just enjoy myself. So I can't think of a better way to look for Bigfoot than this, because I'll tell you, it sure beats walking around the forest. So I am still on my journey, and if we were looking at the Google map that we were just looking at, we are coming up on the turn where we're going to move into we're kind of staying along the coast is what we're trying to do here. So we're staying along the coast, and then we're going to turn into another cove. So that is the plan. But again, we have to be very careful, because these trees, they are also under the water too. And if they catch that propeller or the outboard going that fast, it could damage the outboard, or I don't know that it could rip it off, but it could definitely cause a real fast stop to the boat. So we are cruising along and having a great time, but the scenery, I'm just for somebody who spent a lot of time coming out here during the summer and seeing this lake full of water and fishing boats and people, and it's sunshiny, and this is a completely different lake. So I'm just driving around. I'm having a great time. I don't want to say that too often, because they might say, oh, you can't go out there because you're having a great time. So we don't want anybody in America to have a great time, and you can't go out on that lake anymore. So hopefully they won't see this and say that, but here we are now, and we're cruising, and we are coming up to what we're going to do is we're going to turn a little bit to the left, and still following the coast, we're going to cruise around this kind of peninsula deal. And if you go camping out here, then this is a favorite campsite for people. And on the right side of my right side, there is a trail actually back there in the woods. So one of the reasons I like this area as a Bigfoot possible research area is that I'm always looking for the curiosity aspect of that's what's going to draw these creatures in. I don't think there's a lot more things that are going to draw them in other than something that makes them curious about what you're doing. And so I think that having a trail there with human activity might draw them in, because they might be looking for, a dropped morsel, a granola bar or something that they can, scavenge for free. So that is one of the reasons I think this is a very good research area. Now, on the other side of the lake, which eventually I was going to try to get to, but in a little bit we're going to see that we're not going to do that today, and we'll see why in a little bit. But I wanted to go to the other side of the lake and also check out the status of some of my potential research areas over there. Now, without the campgrounds being open, that means that these areas that are normally filled with people during the summer, that might attract also, it's going to attract any kind of carnivorous, omnivorous animal that's coming looking for scavenging food, that thing that didn't get found, the candy bar or the piece of chicken or whatever that didn't get found and is still laying around for easy pickings. So Bigfoot, Sasquatch, they might come down and try to take advantage of that fact as well. So this side of the lake with the trail on it is a great potential research site, and the other side of the lake with the empty campgrounds until June, end of May, is also another great potential campsite. So I'm cruising along still on my boat, and if you're listening on the podcast, I cannot encourage you enough to try to find this video on YouTube, because this is some of the most fantastic scenery. And if you actually look on my video long enough, it really does look like I'm flying across the water, like maybe on a magic carpet or something. So there's actually my Paddleski is beneath me for anybody who comments and says, oh, I think he's somehow levitating on that water. Well, I think there's only one person that can do that, and it isn't me. So we are cruising along now, and still cruising along. And one thing I want to explain also, as we're starting to go into this turn, now we're going out to the neck of this peninsula. So once we get out to the neck, we're going to make a hard right and move into the area where I want to check out as the investigation area. But we want to talk a little bit about my electric motor, because when you're watching my videos out here, you have to understand some of the limitations I have. Now, this is a very quiet motor, and it just makes that little whining sound. I don't know how much you can hear it in the background, but you can't hear that for very far. And it definitely does not sound like an outboard motor. So this allows me to travel great distances, but I cannot do it very quickly. And the reason I can't do it very quickly is simply the law of diminishing returns. The faster you go in the boat, the more energy you burn up to go that fast and to push you through the water. But if you don't go very fast, you're just sitting on basically two long balloons and allowing the motor to just gently push you while not, using too much energy. It can go pretty much all day. So I have run in the past 8 hours on one charge and come out with like 23% with me and my wife on the boat. So going very slowly, you don't use up very much of the charge. So that's one great aspect of this boat, not having gas, oil, having to take care of an engine, all great aspects of it. Now, as you can see, we are moving into the inlet that I'm headed for. So it's time to get out the camera. It's time to get out the gimbal for another potential shot at trying to use this thing and get some photographs out of it. So let's see if I was successful at any of that. Now, if you have paid any attention to any of my past videos, while we were up here with the UFOI team doing a research project in the summer of 2019, I came into this very cove, so it would be very interesting for you to go back and check out that video compared to what we're seeing now. But I've got the gimbal out, I have got the iPhone shooting, and so let's look at some of these videos. And again, this is the iPhone and it's not in 4K. Now I'm shooting straight from the iPhone mode. I am not in the gimbal app yet. I'm just shooting strictly iPhone and nothing fancy here or anything, just shooting as we go by, shooting what looks like a lunar landscape, but that's what it is. So going back to the normal camera, back to the boat camera, you can now see me filming and the gimbal and taking the previous shot. So I'm, as you can see, using the paddle on with my left hand, and I am filming with my right. Now, why there's that paddle in the water, as I said, that is my method of steering. I don't want to turn around and move that tiller, so that's the way I steer. So what I'm trying to do is I'm moving up to a landing area, and it looks like a fairly good location. It's got a nice beach to get off onto. So we're going to move over here and move up just a little bit farther. We're getting into the shallower water, but we're going to move over there. And if you remember from the simulation, that water was way up there on where the forest is, and now we're way down here. So we're going to pull on in here, and we're going to put the gimbal away, and we are going to go ahead and land. Now that is the plan, but as you're going to see in just a second, that is not exactly what's going to happen. As we are moving into the shallower area, we're getting ready to put the gimbal away, and we're just taking that last little shot, and as you can see, the water is getting very shallow. Oh, look at that. Do you see that look? That means there is something wrong. Now, what has happened is that although you can't hear it, you can definitely see that we have stopped. And so I'm going to go ahead and row in the rest of the way. Now, what exactly happened, I'm not sure. I don't think we hit anything, but I don't know. And this doesn't happen, like ever. It's never happened. So for some reason, the motor just stopped running, and I'm going, well, maybe I can go ahead and twist the tiller and get some power out of it, but it's just not happening. So I'm going to go ahead and row in the rest of the way, and we're going to have to find out why this boat did this, because we can't have this happening when we're out looking for Sasquatch. Do you see how far away we are from the landing area? That's going to be a long way to row this balloon boat. So we are getting ready to go in, and this is what I'm opening now is my waterproof, basically, box. And so that's where I put all of my expensive electronic equipment. It floats, and it has easy access and keeps everything dry. So I'm moving in, coming in, closing in the last distance to the beach, and now I'm going to get out and I'm going to check out and see what is wrong. With my motor not working correctly, or possibly not working at all, I thought, well, there's only one thing really I can do, and that is to get out of the boat, get up on dry land, let's get the camera out, and let's go ahead and take some more pictures. And what could be more fun than a selfie? So I took this selfie with my gimbal, and then I shot this video of the crystal clear water in Baker Lake. Pretty cool, huh? So then I went around, and I just want to show you this because if I can find the photo, and I think I can, I'm going to show you a comparison shot between now and the last time I was here with the UFOI team. And if I don't actually find it, you can always go to the video, and I'll leave a link in the description. So took a couple more selfies, and then it came time to look and see what was wrong with the boat. All right, you've seen the gimbals, you've seen the FLIRs and the iPhones and the Paddleskis. Well, guess what? Because we're having this problem, now you're going to get a little introduction to the Torpedo electric motor. Now what we're looking at here is the instrument panel. And as you can see, the battery level is full, but the charge percentage is on 0. That is not good. That means that it is not charged. It has no power. So how to get back? Now, when I was at the last site I had crossed, I had 92% power. So I knew that this was not accurate, and because the battery indicator is full, that means that there's something wrong that is within the electronics, because I know the battery's not dead. But I am concerned because I'm going to possibly have to row back to the dock, and that is going to be a lot of work in the windy conditions. So I don't want that to happen if at all possible. So the best thing to do is to try to make it work. So what I can do is I can just hit that reset button and try to make it reset and show me full power. So let's hit that reset button and see what happens. All right, hitting the reset button and nothing. It is still showing me a full battery with a 0% charge and an indicator that you need to plug that baby in. So I'm going to have to make my way back, and I can't really dilly-dally. I had planned to cross over to the other side of the lake and check out another area, but I can't take chances if I'm going to have problems with my motoring ability. So I'm just going to go ahead and change my plans a little bit and make my way back to the dock at Colchan on Baker Lake. There were two problems we encountered on the return journey, and one of those problems was, of course, the issue that we were having with the indicator and the power supply and the battery. The other problem we had was I had somehow bumped my zoom on my Handycam, and my close-up was incredibly too close. So we can't continue to look at this scene for very long, but that was another problem and made this footage almost completely unusable unless I were to do some drastic graphics or something to improve my looks, but I don't have the budget for that kind of graphics. So we're just going to have to cut this a little bit short, and I just want you to see as we move out of this little inlet, we're going to move out onto what I will call the open seas, because we're going to have quite a little bit of a difference in our level of comfort as far as the waves go. So let's just skip ahead and check that out. Now you can tell by the level of bobbing up and down that I am doing that we are actually in some fairly, I don't want to say rough seas, but we are in a little bit of chop, and we are making our way across the bay here and working our way towards our destination at Colchan and the Mount or the Baker Lake Dam. Now, you see that kind of smile on my face? That is because I'm not rowing this thing. Can you imagine having to row this thing against the wind? Yeah, it would be very tough. So I'm just listening to the sweet sounds of that electric torpedo motor, and I'm just glad I don't have to row. I'm just sitting there enjoying myself, and I'm thinking about what is my next expedition going to be like, and where is it going to take me, and what are going to be some limitations, and did I bring my keys with me, or did I lock them in the car? Darn it. Well, there are a lot of things to think about when you're at peace on the Baker Lake, and you're on the Sea Eagle Paddleski, and you're cruising towards your final destination. It's been cold, it's been a lot of work, and it has been an ultimately successful mission. So I guess that look that you see on my face is a look of complete and total satisfaction, and a look of anticipation for the research and the activities that are lying ahead for Encounters USA. As I approached the dock at Col Chan, I was very satisfied with how things had gone, and I was especially happy that I was able to make it back under my own power, or under the power of the Torpedo. So I've done everything that I planned on doing, and it was a very successful journey. So as I approached the dock, there are a couple of underwater obstacles that we saw in the beginning of the video, and I have to be very careful about them. But as you can see behind me, we have traveled a fairly good distance, and we've done it in not a lot of time. So right now I'm just kind of relaxing. I'm waiting to maneuver around the underwater obstacles, and then I'm slowly gauging my way and basically aiming the boat towards the dock, so that I have to balance myself between driving basically a sail full of air in the wind, and the best way to drive it is to keep the nose pointed directly in the wind, and that means that you have to adjust your area of travel, and basically you're almost tacking in order to keep that wind in front of you, because if it catches you on the side, it's going to start to push you, and that's going to affect your battery usage, etc., over time. So just little things I've learned over the years. And as you can see behind me, this is the embankment, and this is where they blocked the river and built the dam over on the other side where I started out. So just making a couple of minor adjustments with the oar as the Torpedo powers us into the dock. And so it's really been a successful journey, and as you can see from the look on my face, I'm pretty happy at everything that's gone on. And if anybody's wondering about that hat, I bought that hat in Nepal because I lost my lucky boonie hat. And so I adopted that. I think I paid like $1.50 for it. And I bought that in Nepal in 2008 when my wife and I went there for trekking. And I've had it ever since. So that's my lucky boonie hat, and I love it. It's very comfortable, and it has never, ever failed me. It's always been lucky when I'm wearing it. So we're getting really close to the dock now. I'm making my final adjustments, and what does that mean? It means I'm going to have to fairly quickly jump out of the boat. So it looks like a pretty successful little operation here, so I'm going to have to give this a thumbs up. Well, so we're about finished here, and as you can see, I think things worked out pretty well. We got lucky. We got good weather, reasonably good weather. A little bit surprised to come out here to find no water in the lake, but the things that we wanted to do, excuse me, a little cold up here. The things we wanted to do, test the FLIR. The FLIR worked great. We wanted to check and see if our boombox could play the Bigfoot recordings. Worked great. We also wanted to check out the quality of the shots on the camera on the new iPhone 12 Pro Max or whatever that is. And we're going to be looking at our pictures here. So we're going to be able to see whether or not this is going to be some really good movie quality footage. So it looks like everything worked fine, except for at the very last minute, my battery level light was at 0, but the battery showed it was full. So anyway, you saw on the trip, I'd show you on the camera where we went, but you saw where we went, so no need to do that. So all in all, I think everything is ready. We got really lucky with this weather because I think some rain is probably going to move in. But next week, we're coming back. We're going to do the real thing. We're going to go around and actually call blast. Oh, this time we were here on the south side. Next time we're going over to the north side. And I don't know why the water level is so low, but next week, hopefully, it will be back up to normal. But it does create some unusual conditions here, so who knows? All right, well, this is Matthew Hines for Encounters USA at Mount Baker, or at Mount Baker's right there. Baker Lake is behind me. And it looks like we're good to go for the 2021 Bigfoot and UFO and dog man hunting season. So you guys stay tuned. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, always watch your back. Well, everybody, what did you think? Did you like the FLIR? Did you like the new iPhone? Did you like the pictures that it takes? Did you like the gimbal? Which one was your favorite? If you want to leave a comment in the description, please do it. You know, maybe it wasn't one of these was your favorite. Maybe you liked my Sea Eagle Paddleski, or you liked that handy dandy Torpedo motor. We're going to try to figure out what's going on with that, and we'll be ready for the next time. But until then, before I go, I just want to tell you that the next podcast is going to be Jason Humbar, and he's going to be talking about his expedition up in Canada and a bunch of other things. He's a wildlife photographer and a really interesting guy. So a bunch of great stuff coming up. Don't forget to check out the blog on Encounters USA. Don't forget to check out the merchandise and buy one of my books if you're so inclined. All right, then. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you next time on Encounters USA. And remember, as the guy said before me, always watch your back. Matthew Hines here. Just want to remind you, if you like this kind of content, subscribe to this channel, whether you're listening on podcast or watching on YouTube. Also, go to encountersusa.com for more videos and podcasts, all archived for your convenience. Also, we have a wonderful Encounters USA blog, as well as an Encounters USA Paranormal shop for all of your paranormal apparel. So, not only can you watch your back, you can put some of our designs on yours as well. So we'll see you on down the road on Encounters USA.